this is going to be a relatively simple discussion. There isn't a whole lot to discuss here, but we'll at least cover some of the high points and a little bit about how these guys are made and what they're like. I noticed that only a couple of people actually had an amber or a California Common in hand, but let's take a look at those styles. So as one thing that is vitally important is that even though they're in the same numeric category, they really aren't that similar other than their color. And you look at the SRM for American Amber and California Common and 10 to 17, 10 to 14, they're ambers. But beyond that point, and they're also sort of middleweight beers, they're really not that similar. So let's look at the vital statistics. 1045 to 1060 for the amber, just slightly narrower range for the common. Of particular difference is the IBUs. You just notice that the OG for the American Amber is typically a little bit higher, but most importantly, the IBUs are definitely lower. So American Amber is definitely focused a little bit more on malt, less on the bittering, even though they can both be very hoppy beers. Final gravities, 1010, 1015, really, again, a much narrower range for the California Common. It results in a ABV range that is quite similar. Okay, let's look at some of the ingredients and characteristics here. For the American Amber, you're looking typically at pale and caramel malts. And as we'll see in a moment, caramel definitely is an important ingredient in American Amber. The ingredients for California Common, though, are somewhat similar, but they are a bit more unique. There can be toasted or caramel malts in addition to the pale malt base. And they're typically, so California Common is typically fermented with warm fermented with a lager yeast, and that tends to produce a very light fruitiness to the overall beer, which echoes through. So that's an interesting derivation there. American Amber, typically like a pale ale, they usually use a cleaner yeast, maybe an American regular pale ale SNPA Chico yeast. And then for hop character, there is a bit of divergence there too. American Amber, moderate to high hop flavor, and they are always American or New World varieties, i.e. generally the citrusy new American kind of stuff. In the New World, by that I mean, is it New Zealand, Australian, South African, those guys, similar but different from the new American stuff. Looking at California Common, they're similar, a little bit less on the hop flavor, but more importantly, they use the traditional American hops, which would be Northern Brewer, Nugget, Cluster, and at least for the prototypical definition of California Common Anchor Steam, it is always Northern Brewer. And in reading some of Mr. Janisev's writings in Brewing Classic Styles, he said, there's hands down, it has to be Northern Brewer in order to get the very unique flavor of that hop, which is a hallmark of the California Common Style.
Well,
Now, a lot
Martin,
of people,
is Northern Brewer like a real earthy?
well, I call it woody, but then I noticed that some people pick it up as minty. I've never perceived that, but
Yeah,
maybe.
there's often a mintiness on the finish
Okay.
of Northern Brewer. Other than that, and it depends batch to batch, and as home brewers, we don't get the most exacting versions of these hops. They're typically just sort of earthy and herbal, very English-like hops.
Yes.
But they often do have sort of a mintiness in the finish of them. I basically describe California Commons as ESBs, Americanized ESBs with Northern Brewer and a little less fruity esters.
That's a nice description.
Yeah, I mean, think back to when it was being made. This beer was being made by Anchor in 1969, very early 1970s. And back in those days, just trying to recreate world styles was the goal. So this was just an American interpretation of an ESB.
I guess so. And then moving on to the malt character for the American Amber, it definitely should be, or it should have a caramel malty note to it. And most importantly, when doing hops and malts for an American Amber, you really must choose your hopping so that it doesn't clash with the malt. So that's one of the things that, again, Jamil really gets down to and strongly recommends. And I think the BJCP guidelines also say, yeah, it's got to be a non-clashing orchestra that you create, or symphony that you create.
So please explain that to me.
I've experienced this as a judge. I've got, oh my God, the malt is great, the hops are neat, but boy, they clash. And I have no understanding of this. I would not know how to. I mean, I've never been much of a brewer. When I started judging, it was like, wow, this is a lot more fun than brewing. And now I'm old and I can afford beer. So I gave up brewing and I just kept judging and judging. But how do you do this, deciding what hops will not clash with your caramel malty?
God, in my opinion, it's trial and error.
Sure.
But yeah, I am almost as confused as you are, Linda.
Okay.
Martin, would water impact the maltiness hop character?
Well, I guess, but I don't. Honestly, I don't think that either of these styles are driven by water. It just, as long as there's modest mineral content that's sort of middle of the road kind of thing, it'll be fine.
Yeah, my 2 cents on this is that they're really talking about something more than just the hop flavor. Because if you're talking about traditional citrusy, grapefruity American hops and crystal malt, those are not a perfect combination in amongst themselves, right? I mean, there's nothing about those two that complement each other, but they get emphasized. The clash can be emphasized by balance and water and all the little nuanced little things. If you pull off all the little nuanced little things right, then that citrusy, grapefruity hop and the caramel malt taste great together.
Yep.
But if you screw up the little things and you get the balance off or the water quality off, then it's just a clash. And I don't think it's the hop in particular. It's more just about getting the balance right.
Yeah, that's a good.
And regarding the balance for the American Amber, yeah, it's definitely focused more on the malt and less on bittering. You can still have big hop flavor and aroma, but it's not overwhelming. But just let's return back to the malt character for the California Common. So a grainy malt flavor with a hint of either caramel or toast. And it typically will not be a roast note, just that very, very lightly browned toasty note, like a good Oktoberfest will have just a hint of toast in it. California Common should too, or can too.
Yeah.
Can, because it's caramel or toast. You can have both, but you don't necessarily have to have either. But it's an interesting freedom there. So let's move on. Okay, let's compare these guys a little bit. As I mentioned, the styles are not similar other than their color. The amber tends to have a little more caramel flavor in every case than the common, but the common probably has some toast in it. I think that it melds well in that faux ESB, as Ron has already mentioned. The common is more likely to have some fruity yeast esters in it that can be very pleasant with the otherwise kind of, well, Englishy, old world thing. So having those fruity yeast esters actually, again, brings it more into that ESB range that Ron mentions. And most important here, the common does have the original American hops, the Northern Brewer, Cluster and Nugget, and most typically the Northern Brewer. And with regard to hopping in an amber, it must have New World or American hops, must display some of that citrusy, modern hopping that we come to expect for American styles.
Another note on that, when we talk about original American hops, because that's going to confuse a lot of people, because a lot of people think of American hops as being the citrusy, grapefruity kind, and you say original American hops, and a lot of people may look to those. But again, think of the time frame. Fritz had taken over that brewery in 1969 and was making these beers in the very early 70s.
Yeah.
In the early 70s, Cascade and, citrusy, grapefruity hops were not being grown in any abundance at all.
To mine, isn't it sometime in the mid 70s when Cascade, the original, was originated?
Late 70s or early 80s, I believe.
That's what I recall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bought Cascade Rhizomes in about 1995. They were being sold on the internet, or I think I ordered them on the internet, or I don't remember where I ordered those. The internet was still kind of new, but yeah, that was my first choice.
The internet was kind of new. I remember those days.
We're old. We remember these days.
And of course, Cascade.
And remember, Ken Grossman with Sierra Nevada, he introduced the American Pale Ale with the Cascade and those citrusy, grapefruity hops. That was in 1984. Okay. So by the early 80s, it's what all the home brewers were, messing around with.
Yep.
But back in the early 70s, I mean, you're talking 15 years before that.
Yeah.
But our hops then were more English varieties used for, the American lagers, the boring American lagers.
Well, we don't go back into the early 70s with home brewing, as far as I know.
They did in California.
Yeah.
I was homebrewing. I first homebrewed in 1971,
Wow.
Okay.
and so let me tell you about the time.
Yeah, that's probably a record.
Were
in
you,
this club.
were you in
Yeah,
California?
but no, there really was. My brother and I, we had fermented, wine or grape juice, excuse me. And then there's a wine art store in Bay City, Michigan, and we went down there. And at the wine art store in 1971, they had John Bull liquid malt extract,
Yeah.
and they had
Huh.
Cooper's
I
yeast,
remember
and they had a little mimeograph sheet on how to brew beer.
And
And Popular Science magazine had actually had some stuff about it. And so in 1971, I started brewing beer.
wow.
And so there was home brewing going on. It was not necessarily legal. The stuff that you got was mostly from England.
Did you join you were somewhere in the Bay Area then? Is that right?
No, I was in northern Michigan.
Oh,
So that was Bay City, Michigan.
oh,
There was a
Okay.
wine art store in Bay City, Michigan in 1971.
wow.
Well, wait, what, was home wine making legal?
Yes. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
around.
It was a lot earlier.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it was pretty common.
Okay.
There was
Well,
wine art was, let's say, in 1971. I'm sure you can probably dig it up. There was a wine art store in Bay City, Michigan.
Oh yeah, just like the sale of wine on Sundays in Indiana. It was like 10 years before the sale of brewery beer on Sundays was allowed. 10 years after the sale of wine from the vintner or from the brewery. We just had that start, in 1990 or in 2009 or something? 2010? It hasn't even been 10 years, but close, I think. Sunday beer sales at the brewery. Now we have Sunday beer sales everywhere.
Hey,
Yeah.
Greg did some internet research while we were chatting here. If you see it in the chat, he says that Oregon State University released Cascade as a product in 1972.
Okay.
But think about it, it's not like it became an overnight success.
No,
So,
definitely not. because it was
give it
really
10
different.
years before people were using it and there was enough out there that it was available in homebrew shops and, stuff like that. But yeah, that timing is probably, well, actually it is, but it makes sense. The timing there makes sense.
Yeah, back in the stuff I got, the John Bull liquid malt extract I got back in 71 had the hops were already in it. So basically all you did was boil it up and then added the yeast, the Cooper's yeast that you had. So it's pretty simple.
It was pretty awful too.
No,
Yeah, and
God damn, no, it was not that bad.
It was
And
awful.
I was 16 years old. So we're
That's why it wasn't awful.
Rodney didn't even taste it. So how do you know?
Because I made it.
We drank at that time Pabst Blue Ribbon, and that probably the closest thing we had to a craft beer at that point was the Stroh's Bach beer that they would come out with. And
What about the Ballantine stuff?
I don't think we had Ballantines in northern Michigan.
Oh.
We had lots of a BM. No, we didn't have Coors, but we had Budweiser and Miller.
Did you get the Huber Bach? We got a lot of that down.
We did not. No, not
Seven,
Michigan. Like I say
seven,
Stroh's is about the most local, and there was also a brewery in Frankfort, Michigan. Not Frankfurt. Dang it. The Germantown. Ron, you must know where the German restaurant is.
Frankenmuth.
Frankenmuth. Thank you. Yes, there's a brewery there. Carling Brewery was in Frankenmuth.
Oh. Cool.
So if you want to know beer history, here I am.
While we're discussing or comparing things, I just jotted some notes down since the other, end of this spectrum is amber versus pale Americans. The American amber is going to tend to have more body than the American pale. It's going to tend to have more caramel than the American pale, and it's going to tend to be less bitter than the American pale. And all of this is aimed at more drinkability than a pale ale. So it's one of the reasons why they're were reasonably popular. They were kind of an entry point for many craft beer drinkers. Do we have any amber drinkers tonight that can describe, first of all, what you're drinking, and then maybe some of the character, since we can't share? Eric, I think that you had Bell's.
Sure. I mean, I get a nice malt character with it. It's pretty clean. Hops are fairly low, but there is some bitterness at the end.
Would you say American character on those hops?
I would.
Okay.
I mean, it's not fruity or anything like that. It's more early American hops I'm getting.
Good. Any other ambers in the
I'm
meeting?
drinking Bell's. I'd agree, malty, caramel. The hops, I'm getting it as kind of like a low citrus, maybe like a orange rind type character on the hops. Clean.
Sounds good.
I'm not getting that.
Any other ambers? Hearing none. I know that a couple of people have Anchor Steam in hand. Any comments on that? The malt and the hop character?
Very malty, very malt forward beer overall. There's just enough hop there to counteract to unsweeten the malt. And maybe I could definitely get a kind of little fruitiness to it.
Any thoughts on whether it's any caramel or toast like the?
Oh yeah, I get caramel. I don't think I get much toast.
Okay.
I get a little toast.
Definitely caramel malt. Yeah, caramel malt.
Again, sounds great. And I have to admit that, so I've had Anchor Steam sitting in a bar in San Francisco, and man, that absolutely phenomenal beer. And yet I buy 6 packs of it here, and it definitely does not travel well. But
Mhm.
well, one of the things that struck me when I took the brewery tour, and I think through discussions like on Homebrew Digest back in the day, one of the things that Fritz Maytag said, or when he was bringing in new brewers, and of course UC Davis, the very capable and knowledgeable brewing school in Davis, California.
Siebel.
No, UC Davis.
Yeah, isn't Siebel at UC Davis?
No.
Did
No.
I mix up? I'm sorry.
I think there was something on there that said, forget everything you know about beer. This is how we're doing it. So, and I think that a lot of that plays into how well Anchor Steam travels. They do a lot of things that are damaging the beer, and as long as you're drinking it fresh, it doesn't matter at all. But for those of us who are buying it and having it shipped a couple thousand miles, it does matter. And
Yeah. Also, Martin, you can find it. I used to use it. I still try to use it in my classes whenever I can. So when you get it fresh, it's still a really good beer, but it's kind of a shelf turd. So
well, what do you mean?
it doesn't sell
Oh, okay.
anymore. And most of the folks around here have stopped carrying it. It's becoming hard to find.
It's not
Yeah.
trendy. It's not trendy enough.
I just
Yeah.
found some at Vine and Table last night, and let's see, mine was packaged on February 10th, 21. So,
Oh, is that a can?
no, it's
No, it's
actually,
a bottle.
yep, the
The
bottle.
new bottle. Those are the brand new bottles.
Yeah, that's what I kind of like. Is that like a throwback design? Because it's
It's
been a long
not
time since I've
actually.
had this.
Oh, that's the Anchor Steam design forever.
No. This
Hold
is
it up,
a-
hold it up, Jeff.
Yeah, hold it up. I didn't get to see it.
Yeah.
Oh,
this is
well,
a
No,
brand-
no,
label.
it's not. I'm sorry. Yeah, well, that is different.
This
Yeah,
is a
new
brand
label,
new
but-
rebranding thing that they just did a few months ago.
Okay.
They released it. Most of the big fans of the brand really hated it. They went with this that type of design across the board for all their products, and they used to have a much more illustrative design that looked a little more old-fashioned. This is
Yeah.
much more clean and
It,
modern.
it looks like a V for Vendetta mask, if you ask me.
Yeah. So anyway, yes, you can still find it, but there's a lot of places that aren't carrying it anymore. It's become harder to find, and from the liquor store and distributor folks I've talked to, they've just said it doesn't sell anymore.
Well, California Common is not nobody knows what it is.
Everyone
And-
wants
and
something
I-
different and new.
I remember when Hopcat opened up, they had a special keg of double hopped Anchor Steam with, like extra Northern Brewer in it. That was absolutely delicious.
Mm.
Of course, I've never had it since. Nobody carries it. But yeah, yummy stuff. Okay, and I think I'm at the last slide. Yes, I am. So I am going to unshare, have to stop share. There we
But Martin, the basic malt recipe of a California Common, if you doubled the Northern Brewer, and you're bringing the IBUs up to probably 60.
Well, I don't think that I think it was more dry hopped. Yeah,
Okay.
it was a dry
Aroma.
So it wasn't bittered any further. It was just, big Northern Brewer character. It was, and for me who love Northern Brewer and wish my Northern Brewer hops would actually grow and produce, I'm very sad. But yeah, I love brewers.
You can't get any Hoosier Northern Brewers going, huh?
And not it where mine are planted.
It didn't grow where I was at either, really.
Oh, and Joe, you have had a much better location than me. And yeah, I just can't, I'm going to pull them out. I don't know what to say.
I get 2-3 ounces a year, and that's all I was getting off of them. Right.
Sad.
Well, no, my hotbed is gone, so there's a garden there now.
Yeah, I hear you.
Why'd you tear it out?
Too much work.
Uh,
Well, another thing, how do you enter homegrown hops into a recipe and know what your IBU is going to be? There's no way.
Right. I mean,
you have
yeah,
to
you can't.
send them to a lab, or you just use them as finishing hops.
Yeah, that's what I do. I have nothing but finishing hops.
I mean, you can take the hops and, you can obviously smash them in the palm of your hand and do all stuff. And you can get an idea of the bitterness of a homegrown hop, but to anything scientific, hell no.
Yeah.
I think they make great garnishes too. Just throwing a couple hops in a beer.
Yeah. I enjoy doing that in the fall when they're ripe.
And well, so, and it's great that Ron and John are both on because, Anchor Steam, certainly a purveyor of the cool ship, and
Probably the creation of the name.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
Right.
Steam coming off the
you know,
cool ship.
anybody who's visited the Bay Area for any period of time knows that, like Mark Twain said, the coldest winter I ever experienced was a summer in San Francisco because it's always cool there. So I could imagine that you would definitely get steam all the time, and that would be a year-round brewing opportunity there because it's nice and cool.
I
And
stayed at Alameda one time across the bay. I mean, I'm going way off, but from San Francisco, and there on at sunrise, the obviously sun behind you, but then the clouds come up behind the mountains that are behind San Francisco, and they come up over those mountains and they spill down onto San Francisco. It's a phenomenal thing to see.
Yep. I've seen that many a time. I spent 2 summers in San Francisco on work assignment. Loads of fun. Thank God I was on expense account.
But from the Oakland, have you been over the Oakland Alameda side? I was at
Yeah.
Alameda Island, but to see it from there is something is pretty special.
Yeah, I lived on Lake Merritt in Oakland, and then lived in Emeryville, the other
Mhm.
tower.
Pretty awesome.
But back to the scaling potential, I remember, Ron, you and Tim and others were in Dusseldorf, and I think Tim brought over some freshly bottled bottles of Zumurga, and he opened them, I think, about 2 weeks later at this meeting at Triton, 2 weeks following. And that beer had it was nothing, or Tim, I didn't get to taste it fresh, but Tim said, that this didn't taste anything like it was in Dusseldorf.
It doesn't travel well.
Yeah. And that's just another example of, good brewing methods, or I should say bad brewing methods can really hurt your shelf life. And
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Uriga in the cool ship meeting because their oxidation is off the charts, I'm sure, with drip chiller and cool ship and all their processes. It's designed to be drank fresh in Dusseldorf,
and there's no problem with that. It's just that when you try to stretch it, well, then it falls to shit.
yeah.
I certainly am learning a lot and continue to listen to everything I can about Lodo and the shelf life that it implies possibly, and a lot of the discussion. And there's still a lot of controversy. I mean, I think around the group here, the club, everybody seems to believe that the Lodo processes do extend the life of the hops, especially.
For sure,
I think
but
that's pretty
it
interesting.
certainly changes the character of the beer. So I don't think that Lodo is for every beer style.
But if you take if you're going to put a hoppy beer into a package, there's not too many good hoppy IPAs, for instance. You get much beyond about 3 months, and not just everything starts to go to mush. If you can get an IPA into a package that can last for 6 months, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Anybody else have any thoughts on what they're they're drinking. I see
No,
Greg.
no, but
got
a,
something totally different.
Hey, a different thought. I don't know how many people saw it, but Dan Pixley shared the foam blowers presentation of myself and John. That
Oh yeah, on Milk the Funk or whatever.
he shared that on Milk the Funk, and I'm checking it right now. It currently has 216 views.
Good.
Most of our other club videos have 2 or 3 views. So
Going viral. Look,
yeah, that's what. I mean, Milk
216 views.
the Funk has 30,000 members, so we're not
I
doing
definitely
great.
learned something from that presentation. So
We're,
it was
we're
a
not
job
doing
for
great
everybody.
among that group, but 216 is way better than anything we've had, and I'm sure it's still going up. It got archived into their wikis,
Good.
so good job, John.
Good job,
Exactly.
John.
Thanks. I just asked Dan, because I know that regarding, they have kind of a rule on their sticky regarding referencing their information. So I essentially asked for permission and blessing and then thanked him afterwards and told him it was done. And he did it of his own volition, put it up and incorporated it. So I didn't ask him and he didn't tell me he was going to do it. So
Yeah, it was a complete surprise to me. I didn't know anything about it, but that's cool.
yeah.
Well, thanks a lot. I'm gonna go to the St. Louis Brews meeting, which starts in about 3 minutes, and hang out there. And it's been so nice. Thank you, Martin. That was really interesting. And Ron, and all the things you contributed. That was quite nice. I'm going to have to go out, and I haven't had a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale for a long time, although I have drunk quite a number of them in my life.
Well,
And Anchor Steam has never been real popular with me, but if I can familiarize myself with Northern Brewer and woody, herbal, minty, I've never been real impressed with my sensory abilities. I got an 81. It doesn't mean I'm a good judge. It just means I got an 81 and I have a lot of points and I love judging, but I'd love to try, and I think I can maybe improve my judging skills, recognizing that the Northern Brewer would be a thing I'd like to work on. So thanks anyway. This was great. Thanks very much. I'm going to leave.
Always good to see you, Linda. Take care. Have fun in Denver.
Bye-bye.
Linda.
I will.
So Todd, what's this ESB you're drinking there?
I'll confess I have a guest over because I'm studying for the tasting exam and I'm like not doing well here. So I have score sheets I've been filling out. I have this ESB that I got from my friend Benny Galler, who is actually entered into the Braumeister, Ron. You may recognize Benny.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I do.
He actually did a collaboration with our friends at Crazian, which is a brew pub up in Brookston, Indiana. And so it's Tom and Michelle Bullington. They have a brewery up there, and they actually are part of the THC club here in Lafayette. And he co-brewed this, and so I was trying it, and I had no ESB example I could find at my local Payless because I don't have a lot of good beer stores up here. So I'm going through it, and I was just talking to my friend here about the aromas. So it's called Puzzle Piece. It came in a growler, obviously. It's 4.9%. And it's called a pub ale, but it's an ESB style is what it is. So yeah, so that's what I'm working on. And I got a whole cooler full of beers. I haven't gotten to the Belgians yet, but I need to. I don't know. I keep smelling my arm or my wrist because this is
Yeah, sounds like a wrong night.
my exam's Saturday, so all the prayers are appreciated.
Well, I wish we could share some home brews, and actually start getting back into that. So this was a relatively small subject matter with not a whole lot of complexity. So we'll look forward to next month's. Any other thoughts on beers and brewing and ambers and California Commons?
I brewed an amber, what I'm calling an American amber, last week. So it's not ready yet. And then Joe told me this is the subject. I'm like, well. And after watching this, it might be an amber common. I don't know. I wrote the recipe last October. We finally did it. My interpretation of American amber was the big American hop flavor and aroma, but not the bitterness. So
Okay, well,
What was your grain bill like?
5 minutes. So
sounds like it.
Teresa, what was your grain bill on it?
hey, you don't know when you write it up, right? And you just go all in. Let's find out. So, but I can't tell you yet because I don't know. And that Yingling lager that they called an American, I just bought that today. It was skunked. Just
Oh,
it was just skunked. Now I just bought it today.
well,
Do
are
not-
they still doing green bottles?
Yes.
Oh, sad.
They called the
Yeah.
lager an American amber red. That's what they, and I couldn't find another one. I couldn't find the bells because, last minute shopping. But that green bottle, yeah, it was,
Yeah, that sign that somebody's more concerned about marketing than they are about quality.
Yeah.
but I am drinking my Airgate clone.
All right.
Yeah, I did Airgate clone. It did okay in the Braumeister. They didn't say it was bitter. They didn't know it was supposed to be an Airgate clone. It was like I was shooting directly for those numbers. Yes, the beer I brewed for Ron. I need to get some in a bottle before I drink it all myself. But anyway, that's what I'm drinking. Zoom Ampersand. That's what it's called.
Zoom ampersand. All right.
Zoom, whatever.
I've tentatively planned a pub night for the end of April.
Oh, really? What were you thinking?
Just Grand Junction, go up to Charlie's place.
Okay.
Which I would love having everybody up. I mean, if we do a meeting there, then after, that's awesome too, but different for a pub night. Love to have everybody up. I'm pretty proud of our beers at this point. And,
We love the place.
look forward to sharing them with you.
And this is going to be a midweek thing?
Yeah, Wednesday, the 28th was my plan, depending on weather, of course, but
Okay.
everyone outside, I imagine, and masks until you're drinking, and yeah,
Well-
I don't know.
Well, it's a big, nice open area, so.
Oh yeah, if the weather's decent, anybody who's been up there, if the weather's decent, we've got the door up and we have huge outdoor area. And so hopefully we'll have a nice night. And we've got eight patio heaters. We actually got fireplaces and patio heaters. I don't think we'll put them all at the same time. It drives the employees nuts to keep all those damn bottles of propane full. But
Charlie, when do you think you're going back to glassware?
oh, I don't think it's going to be too far out, Ron. I honestly believe, we get to the point where we start getting 50-60% of the American population double vaccinated. I think we're going to start being wide open.
I went to your place on Saturday. I had my first beer in a year inside a brewery. I've only been outside. I have not been inside. I'm double back.
Actually, except the time we were in the back with the back door open, you were technically inside the brewery.
Well, that's true, but I'm talking just out enjoying myself, having a beer.
Yes.
First one, Tracy and I met Sarah up there, and I was so disappointed to get a plastic cup. I was so looking forward to my first beer inside the building, and
well, and that all came
because
from a lot of
I assumed, Charlie, I'd only been getting plastic cups because I was sitting outside.
No.
And I thought, oh, well, I'm going to sit inside. I'm going to get a beautiful glass again. And I didn't. I still got a freaking plastic.
No, it's all because of the original guidelines was their transmissibility by surface touch and stuff. And so we said the one way to be guaranteed, we've got a fresh, clean plastic cup each time. So that's when we went back to plastic. But no, it's just a pandemic thing, and I really think we're close to being through that. And yes, we are going back to glass. We want glass. We believe in it. Yes.
You know, and you've got that beautiful glassware that's got the logos and stuff on it. And for social media, you want people taking pictures of that glassware and throwing it out there. You can't do that with a plastic cup.
It's strictly just Ron, believe me, it's strictly just a being careful thing. It was not because no.
Just saying,
we love glass.
Get back.
Yeah.
Well,
Back to it soon.
I drank out of glass in that brewery Monday night at Mashcraft.
Yeah.
Well,
Awesome.
Primeval is, I'm not sure that they ever changed from glass.
I was one of the ones who said let's not go to plastic. I was one of the ones against it. No, we're doing 3-stage washing, and so I mean, you wash, you rinse, you sanitize. I mean, that's anybody working in a kitchen. So I was not against the glass from the beginning, but everybody said, well, with all this shit, let's just go to plastic and we don't have to have controversy. That's what it was. It was keeping controversy down.
Understandable.
Well, I need another beer. I only had one. It's like my first one all week.
I only had one also, Martin, but it was a big one.
There you go.
So one's enough. Hey, Ron,
Yeah.
evidently my Hellisbach was nothing like what it was last year, so I'm going to have to improve on that situation. That was
Apparently it was not.
That was a new brewing system. That will that sweetness in the Doppelbock go away? Age?
I don't know. I'd have to have a sheet in front of me. I know I just sent it out, but I can't turn back to it. I'm in the middle of a process.
No, it's fine. No problem. I just seen it come in and I said, wow, he's multitasking.
I'm trying to get these out. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So if
Well,
it hadn't
folks,
been-
that's all I've got.
if it hadn't been so sweet, maybe I'd got a little higher than honorable mention.
Oh, that's right. Yours number 10. You're number 10.
Well, he's looking it up. Let's do the drawing for the gift certificate for Primeval. Also, I'd like to, you don't have to, but I'd like to make a request. If you have already won one of these drawings, please deny it if I pull your name out, okay? Let's give everybody a chance to enjoy Primeval's beer.
Oh, Joe, yeah, that beer was really good. That was all the top. We had 5 beers that were all right up around 38, 39, 40, and came down to second bottles, mini best of show. And so it was just nitpicking.
Yeah, any score above 35 is
Yeah,
good-
that was just nitpicking, Joe. That was a really good beer. I mean, we had 5 super good beers to try to pull a first, second, and third from. It wasn't an easy task. It was really tough round.
Don't envy you, Ron.
Well,
It's here and I'm going to enjoy drinking it.
yeah, enjoy the shit out of that. Bring it to some meetings. When we open up, let people enjoy that. It's great beer.
Okay, I'm going to do this drawing now. I got a cashew can here. I'm going to draw it out of. Looks like we got Charlie Wood on the first draw.
Oh, I have to pass because I've already won once.
Oh, you did?
Thank you. But
I haven't won.
Who was that?
That was me.
How about Jeff Jennings?
I'll send mine to Martin. I won last month, so
Yeah.
Martin can take my winning.
I
And I was there this weekend. I forgot to use it.
If you want to do that, and that's fine with everybody, Eric wins, you know who to send the certificate to, the email to.
Woohoo. All right, Martin, you're queen for a day. You get the beer.
Damn straight. I will gladly take that. That will be either a Helles or a Hefe in short order.
Now, the next question is, Martin, are you going to hold the April event or is it going to be in May?
So, okay. So, as we've discussed, we can probably have a Frühlingsfest. And I'm thinking that maybe that first, I think it's like May 8th, I believe is the second Saturday. I'm out on the May 1st.
May 1st is Big Group.
Does that sound good to people?
May 8th is my anniversary, so I'm out then.
Oh, you can actually bring your wife.
I could, but
You're saying the 8th though, right?
Yeah, May 8th, I'm thinking would be a decent date. And we would be aiming to have it more, fire pit patio area to even make it more acceptable. I mean, we need something. I think that we're getting there, and I think that some sort of outdoor activity would be a lot of fun.
Yes.
what was the problem with May 1st?
I'm at a contest
Okay.
that day, that weekend.
The 8th was what he was suggesting.
What contest? Beer comp?
No, soaring contest
Soaring?
with my Salio plane.
Oh, cool. Do you need cheerleaders?
Children Dayton.
Oh, it's
Is
in
this,
Dayton.
is this radio controlled or are you in it?
No, radio control.
Oh,
No, watching an RC soaring contest is exactly like watching grass grow. It's great for me, but I'm sure for spectators it would suck ass. So no spectators. So if that sounds good to people, we can certainly plan on it. I would have to say that it could be potentially weather dependent.
What date?
But otherwise, I think that it's something that Pam and I are interested in doing.
I'm sorry, what date did you say?
May 8th.
Oh, yeah, I'll probably be gone. Whiskey competition. I'll be heading out to Denver.
Not a problem.
That's just
like any
par.
others.
Yep.
So anyhow, that's on the table. We'll see how it goes.
All right, I'm gonna head out.
all right, guys.
All right, me too.
Enjoyed seeing everybody and look
Great
forward
to
to
see everyone.
seeing everybody in person very soon.
All right, y'all have a good one.
All right, have a good night, guys. Cheers.
Night.
Cheers.